Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Pratik Singh Classes. In this video we are going to start chapter 4 carbon and its compounds. This is the 15th video in the row for CBSE standard 10th science. The first 4 videos were for unit 1, then the next 4 videos were for unit 2 and the next 6 videos were for unit 3. Okay, so this is the first video for unit 4 and 15th overall for standard 10 science. Okay, so here we will study something important because carbon and its compounds comes under the category of organic chemistry, which is the basis of standard 11th and 12th chemistry, and also too much important for your NEET exam or JEE exam. Okay, before I start this lesson, let me request to all of you that please subscribe my channel if you are new to it, and also like it, share it and hit the bell icon so that whenever I will upload a new video you will get its instant notification. Okay, and please subscribe as much as possible because it will motivate me to make things better than earlier for you. All right, fine. So let us start our today's video. In the last chapter we have studied about many compounds and its importance. Okay, we have seen about many ores, many minerals, many compounds, uh, then how do they react with acids, bases, what happens and which situation, um, what are the results. Okay, redox reaction we have seen. Okay, so a little bit will be taken here of those things. In this chapter we will study about some more interesting compounds and their properties. Okay, also we will be learning here about carbon, an element which is of immense significance to us in both its elemental form and its combined form also. Okay, and these days we are too much crying about global warming, and carbon and its compounds are the main concern of global warming, but the existence of this world is because of carbon. Okay, so that is also the basic of life, basis of this everything around us. Okay, but before we start our chapter carbon and its compounds, let us do the activity 4.1. Make a list of 10 things you have used or consumed since the morning and compile the list with the list made by your classmates and then sort them into this table given just next to it. If there are items which are made up of more than one material, put them into both the relevant columns. Okay, like suppose what are the things which you have consumed since morning, then what are the things used to make it, and others also. Okay, look at the items that common in the last column. Your teacher will be able to tell you that most of them are made of compounds of carbon. So whatever thing we see around us, mostly one or the other form, it is the compound of carbon. Can you think of a method to test this? Okay, how can you find out that the thing which is given to you is made of carbon? What would be the product if a compound containing carbon is burned? Okay, means whenever we see anything which contains carbon, when we burn it, what will we get? What will be the residue? Okay, and do you know how to test it? Okay, how to confirm that the residue contains such and such element, such and such compound? Okay, food, cloth, medicines, books, or many of the things that you have listed in this table here, okay, are based on this versatile element carbon. Means everything which we have seen just now, books, clothes, medicines, okay, and a lot others, okay, are one or the other form of carbon and its compound. In addition, all living structures are carbon based. Me, you, whatever thing you see around, okay, it is one or the other form of carbon. Without carbon life is not possible. Okay, the amount of carbon present in earth's crust and in the atmosphere is quite meager, very less. Okay, but it is useful for the life process. The earth's crust has only 0.02% carbon in the form of minerals like carbonates, hydrogen carbonates or bicarbonates, coal and petroleum, and in atmosphere it is available in just 0.03%, okay, in the form of carbon dioxide. Okay, this data is old. Now the amount of carbon dioxide according to the new science magazine data, it is around 0.4 to 0.41 percentage. I'm sorry, 0.04 to 0.041 percentage. In spite of this small amount of carbon available in this nature, the importance of carbon is very high. It's too much immense. In this chapter we will study about all those things, means how carbon is important for us, okay, then what are its special properties which make it away from other elements, other compounds, okay, and what are the thing which is needed by carbon, what are the things where carbon is available or its compound is available. Now the bonding in carbon is a covalent bond. In our previous video, in our previous previous chapter, we have studied about ionic compounds, okay. There we have a bond which is called as ionic bond. Ionic bond is not any kind of bond, it is just a very high force of attraction between positive charge and negative charge, or cation and anion. But here we will study about covalent bonds, okay. While we were discussing the previous chapter, I have taught you there that those elements which have valence electrons lesser than 4, they leave their electrons and become positively charged, and those which have a number of electrons in its outermost orbit is more than 4, okay, mostly they attract electrons from the other atoms, okay, and to fulfill the octet, okay. But in the case of carbon, because it has exactly 4 electrons in its outermost orbit, it will neither leave neither gain, okay, rather than it will do sharing of electrons from the other atoms, okay, sometimes by the same type of atom or sometimes with different atom. So carbon has a special property to make longer chain with same time, carbon-carbon chain, okay, and that is too much important in organic chemistry. In the previous chapter, we have studied the properties of ionic compounds, okay, that they are very strong, okay, they are available in solid form, okay, they dissolve in water, and a lot of other properties we have seen. We saw that ionic compounds have high melting and very high boiling points and conduct electricity in solution or in molten state, okay, because when they are dissolved, they disintegrate into positive and negative ions, and the ions there make the flow of charge possible if connected to a source of electricity, okay. So we also saw how the nature of bonding in ionic compound explains these properties. Means there we have seen that if any ionic compound is strong, why it is strong, if any ionic compound dissolves in water, why does it dissolve in water, and a lot of other phenomena we have studied in the previous video, okay. Let us now study the properties of some carbon compounds. Melting and boiling points of such carbon compounds are given in table 4.1. So here you can see acetic acid, chloroform, ethanol, methane, okay, and their melting and boiling points are given in Kelvin. So here you can see that their melting and boiling points are very less as compared to ionic compounds. Acetic acid CH3COOH, okay, its melting point is just 290 Kelvin and boiling point is 391 Kelvin, okay. If you convert this into degree Celsius, it is very less, okay. Most carbon compounds are poor conductors of electricity, as we have seen in chapter 2, okay. That is because they have no free charges or no free ions. Just a minute. From the data on the boiling and melting point of the above compounds, we can conclude that the force of attraction between these molecules are not very strong as compared to the ionic compounds, okay. Since these compounds are largely non-conductors of electricity, we can conclude that the bonding of these compounds does not give rise to any ions, okay. That means whenever they make bond, okay, a covalent bond, there doesn't happen the formation of any kind of ion. Ions only form when one atom or a group of atoms, they completely transfer their electron, whether they take it or give it, okay. But in case of these covalent compounds, okay, the bonds are only transferred, or we can say shared among the atoms making the compound. All right. In class 9th, we have learnt about the combining capacity of various elements and how it depends on the number of valence electrons. Okay, valence electrons are the electrons which are available in the outermost orbit. Okay, and valency is the number of electrons needed to fulfill the octet. Okay, so never get confused in valence electrons and valency of the atom. Let us now look at the electronic configuration of carbon. Okay, how to write the electronic configuration we already have studied in unit 2. Okay, if you have forgotten, not an issue. Again we will see here. It is just remember what is the atomic number of carbon. It is 6. Okay, so its electronic configuration is 2 4, or you can say 1s2 2s2 2p2. Okay, in first orbit, that means in K cell it has 2 electrons, and in L cell second orbit it has 4 electrons. Okay, the atomic number of carbon is 6. What would be the distribution of electrons in the various cells of carbon? As I have just said you, it is 2 for the first and 4 for the second. Okay, so the valence electron of carbon is 4. Okay, and also the valency is 4. We know that the reactivity of element is explained as their tendency to attain the completely filled outer shell. Okay, higher will be the tendency to complete the outer shell, or the octet rule. Okay, octet, higher will be the reactivity of the elements. Okay, why do the question arises here is, why do the elements always want to fulfill the octet rule? Because they always want to get the electronic configuration like its nearest noble gas. Okay, and every noble gas has 8 electrons in its outermost orbit, whatever is the number of atomic number, whatever is the atomic number of noble gases. Okay, elements forming ionic compounds achieve this by either gaining or losing of electrons from the outermost shell. Okay, or the valence shell. In case of carbon, it has 4 electrons in its outermost shell, and it needs either to lose 4 electrons to get the electronic configuration like helium, or gain 4 electrons to get the electronic configuration like neon. Okay, so if it were to gain or lose the electrons, what happen here is, two situations will arise. If it could gain 4 electrons, it will form C4 minus anion, but it would be difficult for the nucleus with 6 protons to hold on 10 electrons, that is 4 extra electrons. Okay, means if carbon gains 4 electrons to achieve the electronic configuration like neon, it will become very tough for the nucleus, because in the nucleus there will be only 6 proton, and for the 6 protons to attract 10 electrons will become very difficult, and the atom will disintegrate. Okay, and if suppose it loses its 4 electrons, means it becomes C4 plus cation, in that situation it will require huge amount of energy to remove the 4 electrons from its outermost orbit. Okay, and leaving behind a cation with 6 protons in its nucleus holding on just 2 electrons. Okay, so again in the nucleus there will be 6 protons, but it will have only 2 electrons, and it will become very imbalanced situation. Okay, the nucleus cannot hold this situation. Okay, because again in the nucleus there are some different phenomena how protons and protons stay together there. Okay, carbon overcomes this problem by sharing its valence electron with other atoms of carbon or with other atoms. Okay, so what happens here is, carbon can neither accept electrons nor gain electrons. Okay, but it share electrons with the other carbon atoms, means of same type or other types of elements. Okay, not just carbon but many other elements also form molecules by sharing of electrons in this manner. Okay, mostly the number of compounds for carbon family is highest than any other element available in periodic table. Okay, the shared electrons belongs to both the atom's outermost orbit. Okay, as given here, the shared electrons belong to the outer shell of both the atoms and lead to both atoms attaining noble gas configuration. It is like neither gain nor loss. Okay, so both will be in the win-win situation. Okay, so let us look at some simple molecules formed by sharing of valence electrons. Okay, or sharing of the electrons of outermost orbit. The simplest molecule formed in this manner is that of hydrogen. Okay, as you have learnt in earlier classes, okay, in previous chapter and also in class 9, the atomic number of hydrogen is 1. This is the first atom of the PT. Hence, hydrogen has one electron in its first shell or K shell, and it requires one more electron to fill the K shell to get the electronic configuration like helium. Always remember that only hydrogen fulfills duet rule. Duet rule means two electrons in the outermost orbit like neon, and every other element tries to fulfill the octet rule. Okay. Hence, hydrogen has one electron in its K shell and it requires one more electron to fill the K shell. Okay. So, two hydrogen atoms share their electrons to form H2. Okay. And in this way, the shared electron will have ownership of both the atoms, and here this allows each hydrogen atom to attain the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, that is helium. So, as you can see in this figure 4.1, okay, that one and one hydrogen atom of each, and when they share they make hydrogen molecule H2, and the two shared electrons remains with both the atoms. Okay, the ownership on these two electrons will be for both. Okay, so in this way both the hydrogen atoms fulfill the duet. Okay, we can depict this using the dot and cross presented here as, and this is called as electronic configuration or dot structure, electronic dot structure. The shared pair of electrons is said to constitute a single bond between two hydrogen atoms. So here, whenever we say one bond means sharing of two electrons. Whenever in chemistry you will come across two bonds means sharing of 4 electrons. Okay, and whenever we have 3 bonds, that means sharing of 6 electrons. Okay, among the atoms, between the two different atoms or same atoms. A single bond is also represented by a line between two atoms as shown here in this figure 4.2. You can see in this one hydrogen on the screen when I move this cursor. Okay, so here this dash means one single bond is there which shares 2 electrons. Okay, the atomic number of chlorine is 17. Okay, then what will be its electronic configuration and valency? Okay, for 17 it is like 2, 8 and 7. Okay, first in the first orbit or the first shell of chlorine there will be 2 electron fully filled shell, okay, or K shell. Then the second shell or M shell, it will have 8 electrons, and the third shell, which is the outermost shell, it will have 17 electrons. Okay, so to reach its nearest noble gas configuration, it need 8 electrons in its outermost orbit, so it will become 2, 8, 8. Okay, that means chlorine needs 1 electron. Okay, chlorine forms a diatomic molecule Cl2. Okay, so here it is given, oh not given. So what really happens is 1 electron from the each chlorine atom, okay, is being shared, and we have Cl2. Okay, so draw its Lewis dot structure and we will get the molecule Cl2. Note that only the valence shell electron needs to be depicted, not the inner cells. Okay, valence shell means outermost shell. In case of oxygen, okay, we have double bond between the two oxygen atoms. Okay, why? Because oxygen's atomic number is 8. Okay, so it will have electronic configuration like 2 and 6. Okay, so in the outermost orbit of oxygen there are 6 electrons, and to fulfill the octet it needs 2 more electrons. So in that situation, 2 oxygen atoms combine together, okay, and share 2 electrons from each and make octet fulfilled, and there we get O2. Okay, this is because as given here the oxygen of atom has 6 electrons in L shell, and then they make two bonds to complete its octet. So each atom of oxygen shares 2 electrons with another atom of oxygen to give the structure as shown in figure 4.3. Okay, so here you can see that for left side oxygen, okay, if you remove the right side oxygen's double X. Okay, left side oxygen has 6 electrons, likewise right side oxygen atom has 6 electrons, and when they share their 2 electrons each, okay, it will make oxygen oxygen double bond. Okay, and in that way the shared electron will fulfill the octet for both the atoms. Okay, so that 4 atoms which is being shared between these 2 atoms will have ownership of both the atoms. Okay, now from where we have to start. Okay, now coming to the example of nitrogen. Okay, atomic number of nitrogen has is 7. Okay, so its electronic configuration will be like 2 and 5. Okay, so in that situation what will be its combining capacity? Okay, because its electronic configuration is 2 and 5, in outermost orbit of nitrogen atom there are 5 electrons, and to fulfill the octet it needs 3 more electrons. Okay, so in that situation 2 nitrogen atoms share 3 electrons of each other and fulfill the octet. Thus it make nitrogen nitrogen triple bond. Okay, single bond or one bond means sharing of 2 electrons, so triple bond means sharing of 6 electrons. Okay, and in this way both the nitrogen fulfills the octet in the outermost orbit and becomes inert. So here we have seen the example of hydrogen hydrogen single bond, oxygen oxygen double bond, and nitrogen nitrogen triple bond. Okay, let us now take a look at methane, which is a compound of carbon. Okay, in methane we have 1 atom of carbon and 4 atoms of hydrogen, CH4. Methane is widely used as fuel and as a major component in biogas and compressed natural gas. Okay, it is also one of the simplest compound formed by carbon. Methane has formula CH4. Hydrogen, as we know very well, has a valency of 1, and carbon is tetravalent. Tetra means 4. Okay, that means it has a valency of 4 electrons. In order to achieve noble gas configuration, okay, carbon share the electrons, its electrons to 4 other hydrogen atoms. Okay, so each hydrogen atom will get 1 electron from carbon and give 1 electron to carbon, means sharing. Okay, so in that situation the hydrogen will get 2 electrons and will become noble, and likewise with the help of 4 other hydrogen atoms carbon will also get 1 electron and its electronic configuration will become 2 and 8, and it will also become inert. So that is the situation in the case of methane. So as given here, carbon, the outermost orbital's electron of carbon is shown by cross and the electrons of hydrogen is shown by dot. Okay, so what happens here is each hydrogen atom shares 1 electron with carbon, so it becomes inert like helium, and carbon atoms also shares 4 electrons with 4 hydrogen atoms and it also becomes inert. Okay, and in that situation this is the Lewis dot structure of methane. Okay, such bonds formed with the sharing of electron pair between 2 atoms are known as covalent bonds. Okay, one bond means 2 electrons means a pair. Covalently bonded molecules are seen to have a stronger bond within the molecule, but intermolecular forces are small. Okay, means inter means between 2 different, intra means within the same. Okay, that means even though the molecules will be stronger, but the force of attraction between 2 different molecules will be lesser, very lesser as compared to ionic compounds. This gives rise, because of this reason, okay, its melting point and boiling points are very less. Okay, since the electrons are shared between atoms and no charged particles are formed. Okay, so these types of compounds do not form any conductivity of air, conductivity of electricity, so they are very poor or bad conductors of electricity. Now coming to allotrope forms of carbon. Okay, the element carbon occurs in different forms in nature with widely used varying physical properties. Okay, so both diamond and graphite are formed by carbon atoms. Okay, when carbon decays or whenever carbon or carbonic material, they go at very high temperature and pressure for a long time, they convert into diamond, but when the pressure and temperature is not sufficient, they convert into graphite. Okay, so Both diamond and graphite are found by carbon atoms. The difference lies in the manner in which carbon atoms are bonded to one another. Okay, in diamond, carbon atoms are bonded to 4 other carbon atoms, okay, forming a rigid 3-dimensional structure. But in graphite, each carbon atom is bonded with other 3 carbon atoms in the same plane, giving hexagonal array. As you can see in the first figure, left hand side, the structure of graphite. In second figure, we have the structure of diamond. Okay, in graphite, each carbon atom is bonded to 3 other carbon atoms. So as you can see in the figure here, okay, that all the graphite atoms, all the carbon atoms in the graphite, how they are connected with each other, and how the atoms or carbon atoms in the diamond, they are attached with each other. Okay, one of these bonds is a double bond, and thus the valency of carbon is satisfied. Graphite structure is formed by the hexagonal arrays being placed in layers one above the other. Okay, these two different structures result in the diamond and graphite having different physical and chemical properties, even though their chemical properties are little bit same. Okay, what really happens is graphite, which is very smooth, but on the other hand, diamond is the toughest natural element. Diamond is the hardest substance known, while graphite is a smooth and slippery, and it makes mark when it is rubbed on paper. Diamond is hardest. Okay, graphite is a good conductor of electricity, but diamond is not a good conductor of electricity. Okay, unlike other non-metals that we have studied in the previous chapter, okay, graphite, which is the form of carbon, is a good conductor of electricity. Diamond can be synthesized by subjecting pure carbon to very high pressure. Okay, that means in laboratory we can make diamond, okay, by keeping pure carbon and providing very high pressure and temperature. These synthetic diamonds are small but are otherwise indistinguishable from natural diamonds. Means you can separate them in the mixture of man-made and natural diamonds. Fluorescence, okay, as given in this figure. Okay, C60. Fluorescence or fluorines are another form of carbon. The first one to be identified was C60, which has carbon atoms arranged in the shape of a football. Since this looked like the geodesic dome designed by the US architect Buckminster Fuller, the molecule named fullerene. Okay, so this is all about the you can just say this is a topic, or this video is just about the preface or introduction about carbon and its compound. Okay, so I am ending the video here. In next video we will study from section 4.2, that is versatile nature of carbon. And again, I request all of you to please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon for all the contents. Okay, so till my next video, take care of yourself, and also if you have any doubt, if you have any suggestion, you can write in the comment section of this video. I will try to resolve all of them one by one, whatever is possible by me. Fine, so till next video, take care of yourself. Bye bye.